Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm reviewing the long-awaited release of the Riff Coogan classic, The Invisible Maniac, on 4K. Okay, basically, Invisible Maniac is a 90s slasher from, as I said, Riff Coogan, who's better known as Adam Rifkin. You probably know him from Detroit Rock City. I, of course, know him most from Psycho Cop Returns, and of course, if you've been watching the channel, Bone Chillers, which I've done a couple of watch-alongs for. And Vinegar Syndrome released this on 4K. I was very excited for this release. It's probably one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It's no secret I'm a huge fan of this kind of stuff. This is basically late night cable TV fodder, which is the kind of stuff I used to watch as a kid when I was way too young, and I eat this stuff up. Basically, this is about a scientist named Dr. Dornwinkle. We see that he was basically ridiculed by his mom as a kid for peeping on his neighbor, and that of course traumatized him. We see as an adult he became a successful scientist, and he's claiming that he discovered the secret to invisibility. It fails. His colleagues ridicule him, much like his mother. He goes on a killing spree, and he goes into hiding as a high school physics professor named Kevin Smith. And then he figures out the formula, becomes invisible, and of course he's horny and psychotic, and so slasher movie stuff happens, but also late 80s, early 90s sex comedy stuff happens. As a person who loves this kind of stuff for being extremely campy and immature and derivative, I like this movie a lot. It wasn't the best of this type of movie. I think its biggest fault is that it doesn't deliver on the gore like you would really expect or want. A big focus of this is the sex comedy stuff over the slasher stuff, which is fine. It's entertaining. I don't hate this movie. I enjoyed it quite a lot, but I think that hinges on being a fan of this kind of stuff. It's much more niche than I'd say a lot of them are. Like if you compare it directly to Psycho Cop Returns, really kind of similar, but Psycho Cop Returns has so much in the way of gore and creative kills that I think slasher fans will appreciate it. Whereas this one, there are a couple of creative kills towards the end, but there's only one really cool practical effects scene that I can remember, and the rest are kind of a little bit bland. That being said though, the comedy stuff is very funny if you like that sort of thing. I think the guy who played Dr. Dornwinkle does a great job at hamming it up, and you do get that kind of like bad acting, really simple writing that is so predictable and cheesy that it goes all the way around 360 and becomes funny again. That's the big selling point for movies like this for me, and it delivers there. Once you get to the third act and the slasher stuff actually starts happening, his puns start shooting off rapid fire, much like in Psycho Cop Returns, and they're so incredibly stupid. At one point he actually says, as he pushes somebody over, "Have a great fall." That's the kind of puns we're working with here. Overall for the movie, I'd still have to give it probably 3 stars. It's pretty good. I could see people giving this 2, but I'm giving it 3 because I am a mark for this kind of stuff, and despite its flaws, I still enjoyed it. Now, as far as the release, it got a 4K, and I'm kind of getting to the point where, like, look, I want to be super positive about this. I want to love it. I was super excited for this release. I bought it day one, but honestly, this is a good example of the trend of everything coming out on 4K these days being a little bit of a bad thing. This is a 4K transfer of the original negative, and it does not look like a 4K. It's very fuzzy, very grainy. The colors just aren't there to bring out, I don't think. It would have been fine getting a Blu-ray release. I think that would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot easier to swallow price-wise, especially for what you get. It's kind of one of those things where, like, if I think about Ticks from Vinegar Syndrome, it was funny at that time. That something like Ticks would be getting such a grand release with a hardcover box on 4K, but now with something like this coming out, it does kind of feel like they're just digging in my pockets. And to be honest with you, my pockets aren't that deep, so yeah, this should have came out, in my opinion, on Blu-ray. I think even hardcore 4K heads would agree with that, and the picture quality and the sound coincide with that. I couldn't tell this was a 4K. And as far as the sound, it has the original mono soundtrack. I'm sure there's not a lot they could do there. It still sounds good. The audio levels and stuff are all fine, all except for the S sound are really sharp, almost like they were peaking the microphone and then they lowered the audio so it didn't like bust your eardrums, but it still has that really sharp, jagged sound anytime somebody pronounces an S word. On the positive side, it has a lot of special features. It has a 32-minute making of documentary, an interview with Adam Rifkin from a public access TV show, music videos, music video making ofs, and a feature-length commentary. And again, as much as I would like to be all around positive for this release, I'd have to give this one, honestly, 2 stars. Well, I'll bump it up to 3. I mean, I don't know, it's tough, guys. I feel like part of the harshness in this review is just a little bit of overall bitterness towards the way physical media is going, where everything is getting a 4K release, whether it needs it or not, so it can have a huge price tag. And I love Vinegar Syndrome. I don't want to disparage them. I don't even want to dissuade you from buying this. It's just how I feel. That being said, for as low as the score I gave it, I'm not disappointed in this purchase. If you like this kind of stuff, I do recommend picking it up. Maybe wait for a sale. It's a great movie for what it is, even though it's not the best of this kind of late night cable stuff. It is still very entertaining if you're into that sort of thing. And I wish I could give it a better review because, again, like I said, I was extremely excited for this. But if you'll notice, I also opted out of the slipcover. It had a cool slipcover with the newly commissioned art on it. Actually, if you were lucky enough to order the transparent slip during April Fool's, you got a sweet lenticular cover that has nudity on it. But I did not get either of those. Because this was a 4K and it was pricier, I actually opted out of the slipcase. I'm doing that more and more these days because things are getting more expensive. And as much as I don't want it to reflect in my reviews, it kind of is, because no, I don't want to pay that much for this. It would have been fine on Blue. Set it at $20 and I probably would have given this 4 stars. But since it got put on 4K and that doesn't really reflect in the video quality, I don't know, I have to give it a pretty low score. That being said though, the original cover art is dope. The new cover art is pretty dope. Not dope enough to give it extra points though. But yeah, there you go. I really wish I could have given it a better score, but I just can't. But anyway, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and until next time.